So, let's dive into a really fascinating theory that's been making the rounds online. It's all about Alberto Daniel Hill from the Cyber Midnight Club, and it suggests there's way more to his unique style than meets the eye. And that brings us to a really big question.
I mean, think about it. We're just swimming in this constant stream of digital noise, right? Information pops up and vanishes in a flash. So who's out there, protecting the ideas and the knowledge that are meant to last?
And that question, it's the perfect way to get into our first section. We're going to look at this idea that maybe, just maybe, there's a very old secret hiding right underneath the surface of our digital lives.
So, the whole theory hinges on this one wild idea, that long before anyone ever heard a dial-up modem screech, these secret societies were already out there. And we're not talking about simple social clubs. The whispers say they watch, they interpret, and yeah, maybe they even nudge the flow of information in our world.
And right at the center of this whole mystery, there's one guy, a man some have started calling the Oracle of Analog, Alberto Daniel Hill.
If you listen to Cyber Midnight Club, you already know his style. He's got this amazing way of taking really complex digital problems, like cyber threats or privacy, and breaking them down using what he calls an analog lens.
And this quote, it just nails his whole method. He doesn't get bogged down in just code or hardware. No, he brings in history. He talks about psychology, and he taps into this kind of forgotten wisdom you only find in older tech. It's what makes his take on things so compelling.
Okay, but here's where things get really interesting. This is the pivot point for the entire theory. What if that whole analog approach isn't just a personal quirk or some clever way to analyze things? What if it's actually a code, a way of communicating something much, much deeper?
And this is where the theory starts putting names to things. It introduces this secretive group with a mission that is, frankly, pretty incredible. They're supposedly called the Silent Guardians of the Analog. According to the theory, this is a secret fraternity, and their entire purpose, their whole reason for being, is to preserve crucial knowledge, the kind of stuff that doesn't live on a hard drive, and to protect those fundamental truths that don't change just because technology does. So this is the core of it, the real bombshell. The theory isn't just saying that Alberto Daniel Hill is a brilliant guy who likes history, it's suggesting he is a key member, maybe even a high-ranking one, inside this secret society of guardians.
All right, a claim that big needs some backup, right? You can't just throw that out there. So, let's follow the breadcrumbs. Let's look at the trail of clues this theory presents.
Now this is what's so clever about this theory. It takes something we all know about him and just reframes it. On one hand, you've got the simple explanation for his analog advantage idea. It's his personal philosophy, it's what makes his show great. But on the other hand, the theory asks, what if it's a core tenet of the Guardians, a foundational belief that he's subtly teaching all of us? And here's another piece of the puzzle. Hill is always talking about the human element, right? The psychology behind the tech. Is that just a smart observation, or, like the theory suggests, does it line up perfectly with a Guardian belief that the real power isn't in the machine, but in the human mind running it? This is where it gets really fun, almost like a detective story. The theory says to look closer, pay attention to the little things. Have you ever spotted that kind of old-fashioned antique watch he wears, or a strange book on his desk? And what about his sayings, his more philosophical moments? Are they just wise words, or could they be coded messages for others in the know? Now look, I know what you're probably thinking. This is all just a bunch of speculation. And you're right. If you asked Alberto Daniel Hill about any of this, he'd probably laugh and give a perfectly reasonable, totally logical, analog explanation for everything. But here's the kicker. Isn't that exactly what a real member of a secret society would do?
So where does all this leave us? Well, that brings us to our final section. But it's not going to give you a simple yes or no. Instead, it offers an invitation.
See, the point of this theory isn't to say this is 100% true. It's more of a challenge. It's inviting anyone who listens to the show to go back, listen again, but this time listen with this theory in the back of your mind. Listen with new ears, and just see what you might pick up on. And that leaves us with this one last, pretty provocative question. Is Alberto Daniel Hill just the incredibly insightful co-host we all think he is? Or is he maybe something more? Could he be quietly guiding us, using his show as a way to teach us about the timeless analog truths that are secretly running our very digital world? The answer, as they say,
might just be hiding in plain sight.